Let me say good evening to everyone. Welcome to the Muskogee City Council meeting for tonight, April 26, 2021. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a special introduction to be made tonight by Councilor Jamie Stout.
Good evening. As the chair of our Muskogee Tourism Authority, I would like to take time this evening to introduce our new tourism director, Jordan Jorgensen.
Jamie, I'm sorry. I think they had your microphone off too.
Okay. So here, we'll try this again.
There you go.
As the chair of our Muskogee Tourism Authority, we would like to introduce our new tourism director, Jordan Jorgensen.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And Councilor Stout, I was just making sure they were able to hear you. And I want to say this too before we go on. I want to thank Councilor Stout for the time that she served as chair in that position during some times that we had no precedent. So thank you as well, Councilor Stout.
Thank you.
We will now have the invocation, the flag salute, and roll call. Let us stand. Lord, we thank you for another opportunity to serve. Thank you, O God, for blessing us in such a great city. And I pray your blessing, O God, that as we move forward with tonight's agenda, Lord, that you give us guidance and wisdom, Father, that we make decisions in the best interests of our community. Lord, thank you for this council. Father, they work in a volunteer capacity. And I pray, oh God, that you bless their life and bless their efforts, Father, as we serve you with no agenda other than to edify you through all that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Let us turn to the flag. Attention. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Here.
Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here. We will now entertain a motion to excuse Councilman Reynolds.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. We will now consider approval of the minutes of the City Council meeting regular session for April 12th, 2021. Do we have any corrections to the minutes or a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion on the minutes? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. We will now consider the consent agenda, which consists of items 1 through 11. Are there any items that a councilor would like moved to the regular agenda, or do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move for approval.
It's been properly moved and second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. We will now consider item number 12.
Consider approval of ordinance number 4120A of the City of Muskogee Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 18, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 3, Building Code and Regulations, Division 2, Building Code, Section 18-185, amendments to International Property Maintenance Code, adopting demolition procedures under Chapter 11 Oklahoma Statutes 22-112, providing for repeal or severability and declaring an emergency, or take other necessary action.
We will have one individual speaking to this agenda item after Mr. Tucker makes his presentation. Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The proposed ordinance would amend Section 18-185, which incorporates the International Property Maintenance Code. And what this amendment would do is repeal and replace the provision in the International Property Maintenance Code dealing with demolition. And what that would do then is replace it with state statute 11 OS section 22-112. state statute provides a procedure for demolition of property, and so what we're proposing in accordance with our modification plan is to adopt that procedure. One of the benefits to having the one of the benefits to adopting that provision within state law is that it provides that there is no liability for any damages, loss, or property due to removal of any dilapidated buildings performed pursuant to the provisions of this section. And so that applies to officers, employees, or agents. So we do help protect ourselves from liability if we adopt this procedure to follow. And so this is different from what we have done with the International Property Maintenance Code. And so this was, in my review, one of the recommendations that I'm making. Happy to answer any questions.
Before we ask Mr. Tucker of any questions, we have one resident signed up to speak to this item on tonight, Mr. Darwin England. I'm going to ask that you will approach the microphone and give us your name and your address, and you will have 5 minutes.
I'm Darwin England, 713 Grandview Boulevard. On the Amendment 22-112, that's always been the statute. I'm curious, how do you think it will protect anybody?
I'm sorry, Mr. England, this is your opportunity to address the council.
I am addressing the council. There's no way that 1122-112 will protect the council unless everything is done perfectly legal. As in the past, everything's been operated under what is known as the color of law, which simply means that you're telling people we can do this with no legal standing whatsoever. The ordinance that you're passing, ordinance should be understood that you cannot pass an ordinance on something existing. So if all the buildings were there before you passed your ordinance, the ordinance can't apply to them. The city ran into that exact same situation when you tried to do away with portable signs. That was the reason you couldn't do away with them. It's grandfathered in. I really wasn't prepared. I thought I could speak on a nuisance. The nuisance under the building code that you're going to be applying for the demolition has never been understood by the city. There's several different types of nuisances. The two that you should be interested in is public and private. The city's always operated under a private nuisance. The city has no authority whatsoever to operate under a private nuisance, only under a public nuisance. A private nuisance, they always claim we have one person call in and complain. That's a private nuisance. That individual can remove it themselves. They can go to civil court, but the city cannot intervene. The methods of notification of nuisances has never been proper, and hopefully by you including 1122-112 legalizes the nuisance procedures that you use. It simply says that the property owner has a right to a hearing before the council. Your public nuisance boards has no authority. You can't delegate your authority. Only the city council can determine after a hearing, and it cannot be their personal opinion. Everything has to be proven if it's a nuisance. The nuisance code, before it can be demolished, makes it perfectly clear. Even though it's a nuisance, you still have to pay for it. You can't make anything a nuisance that's authorized by statute. Property, homes, buildings, that's all authorized by statute, and you can't touch it. Now, you may say that the building is burnt, demolished, whatever. Well, since the building was there before the adoption of the ordinance, it's off limits to you. The only ones that can do that is the council by reviewing it, looking at it, and is it unsafe? Well, if you prove it unsafe, it's a public purpose. You have to pay for it. Is it for health reasons? If it's a health reason, it's a public purpose. Supreme Court's ruled on it for over 100 years. There's absolutely nothing that can be done by the adoption of this ordinance to existing structures. It only the city council. It's your full authority. You cannot delegate your authority to the Public Nuisance Appeals Board or whatever board it is. I have unwittingly scheduled 4 of you counselors for after the meeting, and I'll finish up there. There's no reason for me to go any farther, but you've only operated under the color law. The city has never, not once, followed the law in any of their past procedures. If you could show me one thing that you've done right, it would amaze me. So I thank you for your patience and your time. And I've tried for many years to get the city council to listen, because you are liable for everything that you do. You are at the borderline, I got 24 seconds, borderline to find out that you're going to lose everything you own under future cases caused by the misuse of the building codes, state statutes, whatever. It is a very, very serious situation for each and every one of you individuals, because you take the liability of your predecessors. Thank you very much.
Does the council have any questions for Mr. England? Thank you, Mr. England.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Tucker, do we have a recommended motion, or do we move to proceed as presented?
My recommendation is to move to proceed as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second considering item number 12. Do we have further discussion from the council?
I had a question. Mr. Tucker, can you explain to the council the difference between what we do now and where we go to the state statute, so that everyone understands where we are?
Well, a couple of things that we have been doing for a number of years, such as the automatic hearing. And as I mentioned in our modification plan, this would formalize what we have been doing informally. As I had mentioned previously, we have been having the hearings in advance of determining property dilapidated with a staff member. This would formalize that and ultimately create a procedure which is not only transparent, but as I had mentioned, would be put on our website once we develop our full policy. The way that it has been handled now is property owners would be given a notice that there is a problem with their property, such as there's an apparent finding of dilapidation, and then they would be summoned to a hearing for that. This procedure would be similar to that, in that it would come to the Uniform Building Code of Appeals Board. They would be the hearing body that would make the initial determination automatically, meaning that there's an automatic hearing, determination whether property is dilapidated. Now, an owner would have the right to appeal that determination if it's adverse to the city council, and it's ultimately the council's decision whether or not property is dilapidated and needs to be raised.
Thank you, Roy.
Mm-hmm.
Further questions for Mr. Tucker? We have a motion.
I do have a question.
Yes.
So, Roy, piggybacking on what you just stated, so when it's in the hands of council at that point, am I understanding correctly, it puts the final decision in the hands of council?
That's correct.
Okay, so what would be our liability in case, in years preceding that we find that, there's lawsuits and so forth? If a council was to make the decision, how would that affect if it's a bad decision, even up on that council at that point?
Well, presumably the safeguards that we're putting in place would prevent that, but there's always potential for liability. What I had pointed out in the language of Title 11, Section 22-112, is that if you follow these procedures, the legislature in Section E specifically says that the officers, employees, or agents of the municipality shall not be liable for any damages or loss of property due to the removal of dilapidated buildings performed pursuant to the provisions of this section. And so in adopting these procedures, if you follow the procedures, then you have that protection that was provided by the legislature. So.
Further questions? We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
No.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. We will now entertain a motion to declare an emergency.
Move for approval.
Second. Thank you, Councilor Stout. Further discussion on the motion to declare an emergency? Roll call.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
No.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 13.
Consider approval of ordinance number 4121A, amending the City of Muskogee Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 18, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 3, Building Code and Regulations, Division 2, Building Code, adding Section 18-188, Public Nuisance Review Committee established and created, composition, meetings, promulgation of rules, adding Section 18-189, duty to review findings of code officials under the International Property Maintenance Code prior to initiation of action, findings, adding Section 18-190, duty to serve as administrative hearing board on certain matters, adding Section 18-191, appeals, providing for repealer, severability, and declaring an emergency, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker.
Mayor, members of the council, this is the second ordinance that we had talked about in our modification plan. And what this would do would create a new committee called the Public Nuisance Review Committee. It would be staffed administratively by the Chief Building Inspector, the Community Enforcement Supervisor, and the Code Enforcement Supervisor. And so what this committee would do is, as a step one, anytime there are any findings of code enforcement of any violations of the International Property Maintenance Code. Normally what would happen is code enforcement would see a violation, would immediately send a notice to the property owner. We have known or we have experienced, as some of you may recall, that there have been some errors when that process has happened. And so creating this Public Nuisance Review Committee will mean that whenever a code enforcement officer finds a potential violation, they will bring those violations to effectively folks who are their supervisors to review their findings and determine if there is in fact what appears to be a violation or not. So instead of having just one person's opinion, you'll have four before a notice ever goes out. So that's the first thing that they will do. And secondly, the Public Nuisance Review Committee would also serve as an appeals board for tall weeds and grass and dilapidated personal property. And so that board is, of course, since it's administrative board, is not one with final authority. Additional appeals are allowed before the Uniform Building Code of Appeals Board, and that is the board that has been primarily handling weeds, grass, trash, debris, and dilapidated personal property. And so when I say dilapidated personal property, I'm talking about having a refrigerator on the porch that doesn't work, having a boat in the front yard that has no motor and has big holes in it. So it's dilapidated. The definition is contained within our ordinance, which is a copy of what we have. The tall reeds and grass one is a copy of what we have in state law. There is no state law relating to dilapidated personal property. So we have adopted that pursuant to our authority. And so what this board would do is effectively two things. One, serve as the appeals board from weeds and grass, dilapidated personal property, and would serve as the initial review committee for any property violations prior to the homeowner being noticed. And that ensures that we make far fewer mistakes by having four people review photos and complaints of dilapidated property or code enforcement issues before that. And so beyond that, that's the only thing that the Public Nuisance Review Committee would have to do with dilapidated real property. They would serve as the appeals board for dilapidated personal property, which of course is different than dilapidated real property. And that'll go to the Uniform Building Code of Appeals Board. But ultimately, it goes to any of these appeals from the Public Nuisance Review Committee to the Uniform Building Code of Appeals. Ultimately, any property owner has the right to appeal to the City Council. And so ultimately, this is your authority as well. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. We did have a amendment that I would like to bring up that was not in the original version. So what I would like to do is insert the following language as it relates to the folks who sit on that committee. It was brought up very wisely that we've got 3 people on that committee. Sometimes they may be sick, sometimes they may be on vacation, some people may leave, and it may take time to get that position hired again. So I've proposed language that would allow, and I quote, "In the event of any temporary absence or vacancy, the city manager may designate other personnel to assume the duties of any member during the pendency or absence of the vacancy." That way, if somebody's sick or on vacation, or we have a vacancy as in someone's left, then we don't have to hold everything waiting for us to hire that third person. Because you don't want to have a two-member meeting, because you may have a tie. The only other change is a correction in the spelling of principals in that page. I had P-A-L, but it's instead P-L-E. So I made that correction. So other than that, I do recommend approval. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Tucker concerning item number 13?
Roy, can you make it clear for all of us to know why are we changing now? Why are the changes necessary?
Well, this is, if you recall, there were a couple complaints that were brought up to both the mayor and yourself, and we met with one of the owners who had received this process. And when we had talked with the supervisor, but the supervisor says, in reviewing the photos, I would not have declared that to be a violation. And so the individual received this notice, and from what everybody said, was an error. And so once that was brought to our attention, we reversed everything and canceled everything. But so we realized that there was some holes in our process, and this is a way to fill it, to make sure that when we're sending letters out to folks, it has been verified, and we're not relying on just one person to decide whether somebody gets a property maintenance violation or not.
Thank you, Roy.
You're welcome.
Further discussion for Mr. Tucker?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, recognize.
Yes.
So Roy, the 4 people, it'd be 4 people on this board, correct?
3 people on the board, but when I was saying 4th, I meant the code enforcement officer who was bringing it to that board. And that's only on the initial, to determine if there has been a property maintenance violation before they send the letter. Because once they send the letter, then we go through the process that we've just adopted under the prior ordinance.
Now, who is the 3 people?
By name, it would be Michael Brackeen, Dan Hurd, and Tyler Evans, who is the supervisor over code enforcement, and then whichever code enforcement officer observes the violation or investigates the violation based upon a complaint. And then if one of those folks were either absent or unavailable or retired, you never know what's going to happen, then the manager would have the ability, under what I'm proposing as an amendment, to add another person there to make sure that there are always 3 people who are on the committee reviewing, in addition to the code enforcement officer who's bringing it up for discussion.
Okay, I was just curious, because we got a lot of dilapidated property that we've brought to the city's attention, but it's still dilapidated and it's still not been torn down, and I was just wondering who.
Well, and I do want to make very clear, Councilor Van, that adopting this ordinance doesn't, the only thing it has to do with dilapidated real property is that it serves as the initial review before we start the process that we have adopted on the previous ordinance, which is the one under state law. So this just makes sure that we get it right before we send a letter to the property owner.
Okay, understand. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Van. Further discussion, or do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Let me, before we roll call, is that motion a second to approve based on the changes that I discussed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. The motion passes. Do we have a motion to declare emergency?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion to declare an emergency. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 14.
Discuss and take action on the creation of a business expansion incentive program which limits city permit fees by 75% for businesses that expand their physical location through remodel, new construction, or relocation.
Council, this is my agenda item, and I'm happy to report that even through a pandemic, Muskogee maintains its position to be in growth mode. We're fortunate that many of our small businesses are either expanding or are planning to expand, even during the pandemic. Many small cities our size in Oklahoma cannot say that, but because of the investment made by this council and other partners such as the City of Muskogee Foundation and some others, retail continues to expand, and we keep adding the necessary financial components to attract major industry. As businesses in Muskogee expand, we want to help them and not penalize them. Tonight's agenda item says to Muskogee businesses that when you expand, you will not be charged more than 25% of the total cost of fees and permits associated with expanding your business. Time and time again, it's been proven during this economy that when businesses have the opportunity to reinvest, nearly every business, every time, reinvests in America, and I believe that Muskogee is no different. Our largest benefactor from this item tonight, should it pass, will be small businesses, because in Muskogee, small businesses collectively continue to be our largest employer. And my motion would be that we adopt this policy on tonight.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion from the council concerning item number 14?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes.
I understand you want to do this, but I just wish some of these small businesses will get us a business here where we can go buy a suit. There's no businesses here where we can't even buy a suit. We've got to go all the way to Tulsa or Broken Arrow, and you know I'm telling you the truth. It don't make sense, but we want to give businesses a break. When COVID was going on, I'm pretty sure these small businesses, they got money from COVID, I'm not trying to cut out, giving this to the small business, but I'm just saying, I would like to have something here in Muskogee where I don't have to drive 40 miles up the road in case I want to get casket ready. I'd have a suit. And we don't have a suit here. I can't get casket ready here in Muskogee, Oklahoma. Y'all know that. Ain't no sense in laughing, joking about it. It's true. We need something here, in Muskogee to have something, I'll say this. I was at a meeting the other day, and we were talking about this modeling show we used to do, and to bring money for our organization that I'm in. We can't even get any, we don't have J.C. Penney's, we don't have Dillard's. We can't even do that anymore. So, I just don't quite understand, we always saying Muskogee's doing this, Muskogee's doing that. But when I can't even go buy me a suit, that's just me. I'll turn the floor back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Van. Do we have any other questions on tonight?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
How do these small businesses apply for this?
It would be automatic to the permit. So, for example, if their permitting and fees would be $1,000, they wouldn't pay more than 25% of what that cost would be. So, in that example, a business would only pay $250 versus the total $1,000 as they would without this.
This going to affect when?
Mr. Tucker?
As soon as you pass it.
Soon as we pass.
So tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 15.
Consider approval of the appointment of Tyler Evans to the Airport Board to serve a 4-year term beginning May 1, 2021 and ending April 30, 2025, filling the expired term of Perlin Boyata Craig, or take other necessary action.
Councilor Reynolds could not be with us tonight, but I believe his intention is true that Mr. Evans be appointed to the Airport Board. Do we have discussion on that appointment or a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Further discussion from the council? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 16.
Receive report on status of waterline leaks within the city, and if appropriate, provide necessary direction to staff.
Mr. Van.
Yes, I brought this item to a Public Works meeting the other day, and the reason I brought it is because I think that Muskogee, we can do better than what we're doing as far as our water leaks. I know we're short on staff. You only got, Friday, you only have 4 people that's on the water department that can fix the leaks. Okay, say for instance, those 4 people, they don't work 8 hours, they don't work 12 hours. They go home, you got an emergency line bust, or 2 emergency lines bust. We have a problem. Remember, I said 4 people. Over the years, I think it's got shorter and shorter and shorter because we've had a lot of people retire. We've had people leave that were good employees for the water department, but they wanted to make more money, and I can't blame them. But it's all over town. These water leaks are just happening all the time. Just like today, we probably got some more water leaks on top of the ones we added. So what brought my attention was when I went to my community in Midland Valley, all the leaks out there. And those are old pipes. I got a neighbor right across the street, and their water now is running in my pasture because we're supposed to have parts to fix things. But come to find out, 3 weeks is a long time to get a part and the water's still running. I have a problem with that, you know. And I think we need more employees, which me and Mr. Miller, we've talked, and he's told me that we're trying to get more employees, you know, because I understand that, but you know, they got to be trained and stuff. And I know it takes an operator, a laborer, and 2 more workers to fill a crew, right? I'm pretty sure you can tell me.
It takes a minimum of an equipment operator and to work safely 2 laborers. The 3rd laborer is not really required.
Okay. But like I say,
It is preferred, but it is not required.
but I know when the report was made last week about ordering material, back years ago they said we had somebody that specially ordered the material. Mr. Miller said we have the money in there to order the material. But like I said, this leak right here on Holden Street that's been leaking for 3 weeks and running water on my pasture, something ain't right. You know, and I believe the people that's working in the water department, they're not just coming up here telling us lies. It's a fact. We need more people to fix these leaks. And if we got to hire we got a contract in place. And I want you to explain to me what this contractor exactly does that we have in place besides our one 4-man water crew.
So, Mr. Van, before we yield the floor this time, I think you and I have both asked that they bring a detailed report.
Yes, sir.
Since this is your agenda item, I want to be sure that's okay that they begin their report at this time.
It's fine with me, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Okay. We have, city staff has contacted temporary agencies in an effort to get more employees to come to us. If these employees meet all the criteria, then, you know, it is possible somewhere down the road that they could apply for these positions that we are missing. And we're also looking internally with some internal staff from different departments to see who we might use to fill some of these gaps, even if it's something just as simple as operating a shovel or driving a dump truck. Now, keep in mind, to actually affix any repairs or do anything to the water, you do have to be licensed through the Oklahoma State Department of Environmental Quality. However, nothing says you can't drive a dump truck, nothing says you can't operate a shovel, nothing says you can't be a tool gopher, essentially. So we are working to do that both internally and with external resources. Our limited staff, they have fixed approximately 15 leaks this week, which is a tremendous undertaking. One of the leaks was actually a valve out here on Mulkogee. It was a pretty substantial leak. They stayed after work on Friday evening to make sure that that was taken care of, and I appreciate staff for doing that and getting us back in water. They've also helped with the staff over at the federal courthouse. They're trying to replace a couple of valves over there in their facility, so we're trying to help with them to facilitate a shutdown so that they can get those valves repaired. We've spent approximately $145,000 on emergency water leaks through a contractor, with an additional $150,000 left to spend for some additional leaks that have occurred due to the winter storm. We've also spent approximately $160,000 on our regular ordinary leak contract with the contractor, with an additional $90,000 left on that contract. And we're currently working on prioritizing leaks to give them, such as some of the bigger leaks, bigger valves, things like that that need to be replaced that are leaking. These are things that they can facilitate and get done quicker than what our staff could, as well as a few fire hydrants that need to be replaced and addressed for safety matters. So those would be jobs that we would assign to the contractor to help our staff out. Also, we have quite a few supplies at our warehouse. We are short on a few. We have more than $100,000 remaining in our parts budget. Staff is getting quotes, in the process of getting quotes right now. We do have parts ordered. They are coming, but we continually try to get the parts that we need stocked for them. I have directed staff, as I said, to get some quotes together so that we can get these things ordered and do it in the appropriate fashion.
I'm just curious, what is the part that's needed on Holden Street?
I would have to research that one. I'm not made aware of that one yet.
Would your foreman know?
I know about it. Do you know what would we need?
Could you come up and speak?
To rebuild the service, what it's going to need. Okay, he's saying that we're going to need to rebuild the service on that leak. So whatever that entails is what we're going to do. I know today they went out to relocate a service over on Texas Street, basically getting the service out of the driveway. So that's what they went over and worked on today. So I did write down Holden Street, and we'll be taking care of that one soon.
So it will be rebuilt.
I do have the supplies to fix that.
Good. Could you come to the mic? Could you come to the mic?
Today, we went ahead and done that as an emergency because it's been lingering longer than Holden Street. So I wanted to get Texas done, But, I only have one crew, so there you go. I'm working at it, trying to get it done.
I appreciate.
I'll try to be over tomorrow.
I definitely appreciate it. But you said the key word right there, what you said just a while ago. I know a general laborer you can hire from a temp service.
Yes.
Operator would probably be kind of hard if somebody don't know how to use the equipment.
Correct.
But the main thing is you got to have a license to do to work the pipe.
Correct.
And that's probably where your problem is coming from, because are people filling out applications for that?
Yes, they can fill out an application. Now, if they are applying for employment within the department, we will send them to school, and we can give them a helper's license or a temporary license until they are able to go to school and obtain their Class D water license.
How long is this school?
For a Class D, it's 16 hours.
16 hours. That's
Yes,
all?
sir. That's it.
Wow. Took me longer than that to get my plumbing license. A lot longer.
Yes, sir.
And I'm telling you, dealing with technical stuff. I mean, that surprises me. Just 16 hours to get a
16 hours for a Class D license, yes.
Class D license.
Yes.
How long for a commercial chauffeur's license?
I'm sorry?
Yet you talking about driving a dump truck and stuff.
I'm not sure on that, Mr. Stewart. Do you have any information on that, on CDLs? Okay.
Okay. So, in other words, we are shorthanded, as we all know. We don't have enough men to do the job, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the material, how do y'all, let me ask you this, how do y'all order the material? Since we were talking about the material last week of the process that we order the material, like, okay, so let's say, for example, water meter cans. How many water meter cans we got in stock right now for a residential or commercial job?
I believe for Residential, there is probably in the neighborhood of 2 or 3. As far as commercial, we just put in an order for 10 of those. However, we do have quotes coming for more residential meter cans.
So in other words, there, we're short on water meter cans. Residentially, if somebody, a plumber goes out and that can, the city, when I was plumbing, the city used to replace the can. Does the plumber replace the can now? Or the city still do it?
No, sir, we replace can, but you have to keep in mind, Mr. Van, that we just went through a meter replacement program, and the lion's share of those meters went towards that meter replacement program.
Now you said it. That's where the cans went,
Yes,
to the
sir.
meter replacement program. Which
A
we
lot
should
of-
have,
Yes, sir.
we should have had, we knew this was coming, we still should have had more stuff ordered for us to have, for our employees to have on the side. You know, that's just, it's a shortage. You agree?
Yes, sir, but we weren't sure how many meters that we were going to need during that replacement.
Now, we're going around replacing all the meters in Muskogee?
I believe so. Did we
Okay.
not?
No, we
Residential meters?
replaced approximately half the meters, and Tammy's been very involved in that and helped lead the process with Public Works, so I'll defer to her. I think what Stephen's saying is, with that, with our record freeze that we had, where we had probably, again, a year's worth of leaks in 2 weeks, we are playing catch up. We are shorthanded. We're shorthanded not from lack of trying on our part. We're shorthanded just like every business. When you drive down Okmulgee or Chandler or Main Street, they have a help wanted sign out front. We got a help wanted sign out. And we're a good employer, and if anybody hears my voice and thinks they might need a job, we'd be happy to look at you to hire. So please come work for the City of Muskogee, because we'd love to have you work in water distribution or code enforcement or several other places where we have open positions. I agree with what you said, Councilor Van, that I think our staff is doing a really good job with the resources the council has provided. We have money for any part they need. We got money. They just need to order it. If they have something that we get, we've got a contractor for not just these emergencies, but for regular assistance when we're shorthanded, like you said. Both of those contracts are being used at this time. As far as our plans moving forward, we're looking at creative ways to try and staff the laborers to try and make sure we have as many crews in the field as possible. So I agree with you that we can do better. I agree with you that we need more people. I want to reemphasize something we said last week, which is when I started here and Mr. Tucker was acting city manager, there were 2 crews. We've now budgeted for 3 crews. So we're putting as many resources as we can, and this year we put as many resources towards water leaks as we have had since I've been here. We're addressing it as well as we can. We're ready to go, and I'm glad you brought this to our attention. But we've still got the resources the council's put in place are adequate for what we need, especially given the emergency funding that you authorized for the emergency leaks.
That's good, Mr. Miller. But still, like I say, we need, just like now on this water meter training, where do they go to school at?
On the water distribution training,
Yeah.
Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality offers classes all over the state.
So they have to travel?
Not all the time. Not all the time. Sometimes they'll just travel right over to Wagner. They can get training there whenever it becomes available. We've even had some classes held in the Muskogee proper as well.
Okay. It's just, like I said, I see I know how water works and how things are put in. It just amazes me. You're going 16 hours and you certified. That's just amazing to me.
16 hours and you are certified to fix a leak. In order to change the quality of the water, it does take more training. You do have to hold a higher license.
Oh, okay. All right. But I just thought, I wanted to make sure that we're on the right page, and we want to keep our citizens happy, and we don't want to wait. Like I said, we're wasting a lot of water right now. And like I told you last week, if this was on the citizen side, the city of Muskogee want their money. I know they do. You let my water go start leaking on my service line,
Yes, sir.
you know. But I just, you know, things like this need to be brought to the citizens' attention. I wish right now there was more citizens out here in this audience could come up here. I know they're listening on Facebook and listening on Channel 14 and whoever, you know, but really, citizens really need to be involved. Our constituents really need to be involved. I've learned a lot since I've been a councilman up here. And even before I got up here in this seat, I learned a lot from other ones, you know. But I thank you, Mr. Miller, and everyone. You know, you're doing the best you can. And, in the water department, I appreciate you four that's working hard every day to keep our water going and keep our services going for us. But like I said, I just want to be glad when we hear that we got some more help and we got supplies to keep our citizens going. And one more question, Mr. Miller. On the supplies, who orders these supplies? Who orders the supplies we need? Like if we need water meter cans or we need a yoke or whatever, whose responsibility is that to order? Is it the foreman? Is it Mr.?
It's in the foreman's job description to order the parts that are needed. And then the department head has to approve it going forward.
Okay. I just getting the formula here of what's really going on. You know, so. All right then. I appreciate your report, and like I say, thank you all for doing a wonderful job and helping and keeping our city going.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Now, you're trying to make it hard on nobody. I just wanted some facts. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Devan, for your item. Item number 17.
Receive report on City of Muskogee partnership with the Muskogee County Health Department COVID-19 vaccine education program, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something I'm very excited about, and I want to thank the council members and the mayor and deputy mayor that have really brought us to this point, and the Muskogee County Health Department. About a month ago, the health department came to the city and said, we really need to get people educated about getting vaccines. We need people to understand the importance of that and why they need to. And they said that they needed our assistance because the process of trying to do that through the state health department was going to take way too long. So we were able to work with a contractor to produce, I think, 5 different videos, several different online ads and some print ads to try and just get the education out there, because we know that high levels of vaccinations means greater levels of freedom for us and for our citizens, and an opportunity for our community to be healthy and our economy to be healthy. So what we have here is we're going to try and show one of the videos. Again, there's 4 or 5, and then I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Reed, who's helped us, and the mayor, and I know Ms. Walker from the health department, so they can update us further on what's going to happen next. But now let's go ahead and show just one of the videos as an example.
We've got to get to 70% vaccination. All of us are ready to get back to normal, but none of that will happen unless we have sleeves up, mask off, economy open. I need your help to be certain that our economy stays on the right path. We've got brand new streets that are going to be empty because people are afraid to walk without the shot. Get the vaccine, boost the economy, enjoy your new streets, and let's have a great Muskogee.
So to understand this, though, to get back to normal, we've got to reach something called herd immunity. Herd immunity, it means 7 out of 10 of us need to have that vaccine in our arms. 70% of us, 70% of us need to have that vaccine in our arm to get herd immunity. And 70%, and we're not going to do it without you. Without you getting there, without you getting vaccinated, without you helping people that don't know where to go to get vaccinated. If you know, tell them how to get there. If someone needs a ride, give them a ride. We need your help to get to that 70%.
One of the most effective ways for us to do this is to get vaccinated, one family at a time. Visit www.vaccinate.oklahoma.gov for more information, or contact your local pharmacy to see availability. A cleaner Muskogee, a better Muskogee, a healthy Muskogee.
All right. Deputy Mayor, I want to turn it over to you.
Thank you to council once again for supporting the efforts to get our community vaccinated. As a city councilman who have been on this journey for almost 9 years, this is one of the items that I truly take pride in and find much joy in, and that is saving people's lives. We know the devastation that we've been under with COVID for the last year, and so this vaccine It's one of the hopes that we have for our future, not trying to throw it down anybody's throat. There's a large population that still don't believe in the vaccines, and this is just a piece that we were trying to do just to educate, and we have 5 different videos. We have newspaper ads as well as PSAs that you'll see on Facebook that will help us, with the educational piece. And, for those who may have doubts, for those who may have questions, hopefully this will open some eyes and open some doors for our people to get vaccinated. So I want to yield the rest of the time to Ms. Delby Walker. She and the health department has been our partners every Thursday for several weeks, and we're going to go as long as we can. We are at a point, not just a Muskogee problem, but a national problem. The sign-ups are starting to slow down now. People are not, standing in line, beating our phone lines down to get the vaccinations like they were in the beginning. But nevertheless, every Thursday that, the health department assists us, we will open those doors. And so, once again, thanks to Ms. Tina Johnson, to DLB, to all the staff. There's volunteers, nurses, retired nurses, and healthcare workers that come and assist, as well as National Guards that step up every Thursday. And then once again, thank you guys for supporting us in our efforts in feeding the healthcare workers and the National Guards on Thursdays as they work, a full shift, don't even take lunches most times, to make sure that everybody who needs a vaccine can get vaccinated.
I'll just jump right on what you said. We're going to continue to do the Martin Luther King every Thursday as long as you guys want us there. It's an honor to us to serve the community. As he said, many do not get lunches. We kind of rotate as much as we can. The sign-ups across the state have gone down, and we just want to make sure that those that want to get vaccinated know where they can get vaccinated. And every Thursday at the Martin Luther King Center, they can just show up 9 to 3 and get their vaccine. Or if they like an appointment, they can call us and we put them on a list so they have a time slot. But we also are doing vaccines through the vaccinate.oklahoma.org throughout the city, the pharmacies, the health department, the tribe. It's all to try to serve the citizens of this county. Any questions?
Mayor, I have.
Yes, ma'am.
May I have the floor? What's our current? Do we know what our current numbers are?
32.3% of the county is vaccinated.
As vaccinated. What about positive cases?
I haven't seen those this week.
I know the state had kind of quit reporting out as often as.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have those handy, and Mr. Evans had to leave, and he usually does have those. So we'll make sure that we have those, make those available to you. And they're also often, yeah, thank you.
I think that's all.
Mayor, may I have the floor?
Yes.
So you guys are doing the Pfizer, so 16 years old and up.
That's every Thursday we do Pfizer.
Every Thursday, okay, because I've been getting phone calls. And so I will
tell you that because the schools we're working with superintendents throughout the county. We'll extend it if Deputy Mayor Reed is okay with it. We're going to send it to 4 o'clock so that students that would like to get it have time to get there.
So just to let people know, if your child is 16 years old and up can receive
guardian, they can come and get it.
Correct.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Walker, I want to take this opportunity to thank you and Ms. Johnson and Mr. Miller. And the reason why I want to pause to do that is because I think that the PSAs are another example of how Muskogee continues to get it right. As far as any of us are aware, we are the only city that partnered with the health department the way we did to actually fund the PSA program to make certain that all of our residents, not only in Muskogee city limits, but throughout the county, were aware of what their options are to get vaccinated.
Yes, sir.
And I think that all of those that were involved, from your staff, from the state health department, from Mr. Miller's office, should be commended for that work, because without that thrust that came from the county health department first, and the follow-up with the city staff, along with Deputy Mayor Reed and others, we would not be where we are today in terms of announcing to our residents that this service is available.
Yes, sir.
And so before we leave from this agenda item, certainly I wanted to make that known on tonight and clear to the public that their city, along with their county officials, are working for them to be certain that we have every option available to them to get to that herd immunity point. Certainly, it's no one's fault if residents decline to be vaccinated, but certainly our efforts have proven that availability is there.
Yes, sir.
And so I also want to encourage those that are listening on tonight that you do have a plethora of options here in the city of Muskogee to be vaccinated should you desire, as we all strive to march towards that 70%. I think that it's a testament that we're nearly halfway there with 32.3% of the county have been vaccinated. And so we hope that all those who are listening, those who will watch those PSAs or hear the audio version will take advantage of that service. So I wanted to give that shout out.
Thank you to you. Thank you to you.
So I wanted to give that shout out to those individuals as well. Do we have any discussion for Mr. Miller? Thank you so much for your effort, Mr. Miller, Deputy Mayor Reed, and others. Item number 18.
Receive report on the 22nd Barebones International Film Festival held April 22nd through April 25th, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of council. I want to welcome Oscar Ray here. He will make the presentation. He has been very busy, and I am very grateful. I know that the Barebones Film Festival is continuing online, even as we speak, I believe. And it is a major event in our city, and we're very happy that it was able to happen this year. We wanted to celebrate that fact and have Oscar Ray come and tell us a quick update that we can all be happy about. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I want to apologize for my footwear. My feet, after 17 hours for 5 days, have disagreed with me, so I can't get them into shoes right now. But when we started the film festival 22 years ago, the filmmakers who came named it the world's friendliest film festival. And that is due to the people in the city of Muskogee. They took that away again. Even though the festival was smaller this year because of COVID, we only did 4 days instead of the typical 7 or longer. They've had a great time. We had about 100 filmmakers come to town. They were all from the contiguous United States, but one from Hawaii. And the folks who usually come in from Europe and like that couldn't come because if they came to the United States, they'd be quarantined when they got back home for at least 2 weeks. But they did want to say thank you for the hospitality. They were overwhelmed by it. They were actually shocked by it, especially the folks from LA. They just could not believe that there was an actual place that was a real Mayberry. Just kidding. with incredibly friendly people. And they loved the food. They went from one place to another, took lots of pictures. The one thing that they did suggest was that the city of Muskogee view the movie industry not just as tourism, but as a business. Now, the reason I say that, there were 4 filmmakers that stayed over today. They looked at property in Muskogee and drove around looking for places to make movies and some possibly to build a studio. And they were very serious. They deliberately stayed in the city to do that. They think it's a great place to make movies. Right now, there are about 13 motion pictures that are being shot in Oklahoma. Of those, 7 are major motion pictures. And when Shia LaBeouf came here to make his movie, just to rent a parking lot, he was willing to pay $10,000 for the use of a parking lot for 3 days. So there's a tremendous amount of income that can be brought to the city of Muskogee if you view it that way. That filmmaker, by the way, the one that stayed over, he said, now, what I cannot believe that Muskogee doesn't have a phone number that says, if someone answers, says, Muskogee Film Office. So I'm just going to toss that out so you guys can come up with a way to address that. But that was a big deal. He wanted to find a way to be able to contact folks in the city to find locations or to find personnel or whether hire a plumber or anyone to build a setting like that. So we're in some discussions. We've had several discussions this morning, several meetings about them coming back and making movies here. And probably in the last 22 years, we have had at least 80 individuals that have come back and shot some form of either a movie or some part of a movie in Muskogee, Oklahoma. And the furthest was a guy from London, England, who came and actually shot a music video in the city, all over the city of Muskogee, and took it back and premiered it at the London Film Festival. But again, a big part of their satisfaction was the people in Muskogee. So I want to thank you guys and the citizens of Muskogee who made them feel so welcome that they just couldn't believe that this was a real place. Okay, so it was amazing. So, well, it can't be real. That's a song, right? It was the funniest thing, but they were extremely happy. So thank you, and thank you guys for making it a success, and it's very much appreciated. And your support over the past 22 years has really helped and encouraged us to continue it. So thank you. Any questions, Brian?
Did you tell
Oscar, oh, go ahead, Mr. Van.
I'm sorry, may I be recognized? Mr.
Yes.
Mayor? Did you tell them that song is wrong now?
I think they kind of got that the song might need new lyrics.
Tell them to smell it downtown, and I know it's wrong.
but they were excited. They're very excited to be here, and we're excited. I might mention that we only showed during this festival the narrative films, and those are online now. And so next month we will actually show the documentary. There'll be a documentary film festival at the Roxy Theater. Thank you guys for supporting the Roxy Theater. And those movies also end up online. But the one thing I might mention about all the movies that we show that are documentaries, every single year, one of the documentaries that showed at Bare Bones has been nominated for an Academy Award. So please come out and see some of those movies. The festival, as you know, this year is free, thanks to tourism, and we appreciate that. And so that means the entire citizens, all the citizens of Muskogee can come and see the movies, meet the filmmakers, shake their hands, and maybe even star in the movie. I don't know. I definitely appreciate it. Now,
Mr. Ray, one of the things I was going to say is that we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the hard work of your bride.
Oh my God, yes.
Sharon Ray. I'll let you do that.
Oh, get me out of hot water. Okay. Just for you folks who don't know, okay, it was Sharon's idea to start the festival because she wanted people to come from all over to help us learn how to make movies. And she truly has been named the godmother of film in Oklahoma because of it. So filmmakers from all over the world, they may not know who I am. I'm Mr. Butterfly, but they all know who she is. And so when they make a phone call to reach her, she's helped kids get into film school. She's actually helped several people be able to become part of the Academy voting block. She's had tremendous influence on the industry, and it is her work that makes it happen. I show up at the end and take credit like today, but the truth is that 99% of the work that she doesn't do it for any salary. She does it because she loves it. We don't make money off the festival. You know, pretty much every dime we do make over our costs goes right back into training filmmakers here locally, but we've never taken a dime as profit, ever, in 22 years. So we hope that you will support us from that standpoint, and the many kids that we think in Muskogee have a creative outlet. And that outlet means that they can come and tell their stories about this city, about their families, about our history, and make an impact in this area. And forgive me for pulling up my mask. My nose has got to be.
And one last thing I'll say before we move on from this item. Last week, when we had the opportunity to watch One Moment, I think that one of the things that should be noted is that Deidre O'Connor, who was the director and writer of that film, was at the festival. And one of the things that should be noted is that it was Danny Aiello's last film before he suddenly passed away. Yes. And the moment, One Moment rather, was such a telling story because it almost narrated in advance that he would be passing because of the role he played, as well as the segment that was played, the 2-minute segment that highlighted the song he sang during the movie. And I think it was a beautiful narrative that we got to see that in Muskogee, America.
It's outstanding. And you guys can see that online, okay? Go online and check it out. It was incredible. So we appreciate her bringing it here. She came here from back east. And the guy who brought the movie from Hawaii, he couldn't say enough about this. He brought his wife with him and daughter. He couldn't say enough about Muskogee. So thank you, Muskogee. And thank you, Mayor, City Manager, and the Council, for making the folks feel like they were at home.
I'd like to say thank you guys for putting it on.
Thank you.
So your bride, we said hello.
Absolutely.
Item number 20, or should that be 19?
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. Pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the workers' compensation claim of Steve Stevens, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Make a motion. So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yep.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Will those of you who are here, please excuse yourselves while the rest of us go into executive session at this time. We will now reconvene from executive session. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout. Evelyn Hibbs.
Here.
Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here. Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 21A, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council did convene an executive session to discuss the workers' compensation claim of Steve Stevens. After being briefed on the status of the claim and a potential settlement, I think an appropriate motion would be to authorize the city attorney to settle the claim of Mr. Stevens within the parameters discussed in executive session.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, that is our final item for the night. We are adjourned.